Dignity Matters.
Hello, and thank you for joining me today. I'm your host, Samantha Sosnik, and on today's episode of Putting the Brakes on Bullying, HMTV, my special guest, Joanne Savastano, will join me for a conversation about bullying. When we met, I just calculated this morning, we just met, it will be 16 years in September.
Wow.
And my favorite part of telling people how I met you was I came to bring Avery to introduce you to her. She was 4, turning 5, entering kindergarten. And when we finished talking, you said to me, I'll walk you out to your car. And I'm like, okay, this is very nice, unusual for a teacher, but, And you walked me out to my car, and you said, everything's going to be fine. She's going to do great, because I was nervous. We were transferring from a preschool to now Levy Lakeside. And I was always nervous making changes with her. Mm-hmm. And I guess you just sensed that I was uneasy, and you said to me, can I give you a hug? And I was like, sure. And I'd like to hug, but I was just so taken aback by your warmth and nurturing, and it just was the beginning of a beautiful friendship, and a beautiful 7 years. And not only 7 years, we were 7 years together in school.
Correct.
But we have continued our friendship. Mm-hmm. You've watched Avery grow past her elementary school years. Mm-hmm. And, when it came time for me to make a very difficult decision about Avery at 18, whether she should move out of the house into a group home, mm-hmm. I called to converse with you. I called for your opinion, and you've always been there for me. You've always been there for me and all your parents.
Correct.
But I truly appreciate that. So you have been in the field of teaching, but not just teaching. You've been in the field of teaching special ed young children. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me how many years you have done that?
A long time. I was also a physical therapy assistant right out of college, and I worked right off the bat at Long Island Developmental Center, which was in the 70s. And if anybody's familiar with Willowbrook and so forth,
yes.
This is post Willowbrook decree, mm-hmm. and I worked with kids who were institutionalized.
Yes.
So my lifetime of experience, and going from there, I was there for a couple of years. And then I went to Carmen Road School, Nassau. And again, at least those children were not institutionalized, but they lived at home, but they had physical challenges, multiple disabilities, because my background at the time was still physical therapy.
Yes.
But I completed my master's while I was there, and I got a teaching job while I was there. And when I got accessed, I had to get a job, and I applied to every district on Long Island. But my background was so niche, I didn't know how it was going to translate into a public school. And when I got interviewed in Merrick, my first year, I had a group of students who maybe now, they wouldn't even be in a self-contained class. They were maybe learning challenge youngsters, some speech language challenges, but I just was like, oh, these kids are great. And the other people say, no, they really have so many. So I think my whole perspective, my whole experience at Merrick, let's say, or the 30 years in a public school, because I came from seeing kids who were institutionalized, was these kids are fine.
Right.
These kids are great. They live at home. Everything was a positive. And it was not. So it's been since 1970s, 78.
Yes.
So over 40 plus years working with that. And then I had special needs children and adults, and I'm still involved with. I was recently at a protest at the state office building because they were trying to take away funding for the group homes and the programs for the adults.
Right.
And so I showed up there because, and then I saw some people I knew from, the institution when I worked at Long Island Developmental Center. So it does, for me, it's like everybody, it doesn't matter if you're young or older, we have to look out for our people.
Absolutely.
So it's been a long time.
Did you find, because you were in a self-contained class, Avery, for those years was one of 5 children in your class. Did you find being in a typical school setting, because Lakeside is a general ed school, did you have any experience with any of the children outside of your classroom with bullying?
It was a lot of, I think, subtlety, and I know that it comes from a place of they just don't know. It was like ignorance, meaning if you're not familiar or if you've never been exposed to somebody who looks different than you or acts different from you or has an obvious difference, whether it's Down syndrome, you could see it, or somebody who's got in a wheelchair.
Right.
That's like a noticeable thing. And kids will often, turn their heads and stare. And so early on, when I started, even at Lakeside, I used to volunteer. I said, I'd like to do a thing for disability awareness. And I had some youngsters. I had these identical twins who had cerebral palsy. They were bilingual, and they were very bright kids. And I think about it now, I'm saying, oh, man, they could have been pushed into maybe more mainstream stuff.
Right.
But this was like 30 years ago.
Right.
But when I think Albert used to say, let the kids come in. We'd let the neighboring classroom kids come in because we'd be in the same hallway.
You'd be educating them.
And we'd be educating.
Be exposing them to the differences that some children have.
And let them ask questions because they're scared. And so my own students would say, yeah, I might look different, but I'm just a kid like you. I have this, but they say, how do you get off and on the bus? Because these kids happen to be using wheelchairs. So early on, I saw the need.
Right.
And so it eventually developed into where I started a buddy club.
Yes, which was extremely successful.
Yes.
Did you find that any of the children, because I've had experiences with, I have never had an experience with Avery being bullied by anybody. She's always been accepted, even with the typical kids. When she did the spring concert, there was a picture of her with all the boys in 6th grade that took her with her, and they were great. I never had an experience with Avery with bullying. I had one with Tatum, a major one, where it was, parents that got involved to facilitate this bullying to make sure my daughter didn't return to her summer place, and she did prevail, and she did come out a champion. But it was interesting to me that someone like my daughter Avery, who's evidently has issues and is different, never experienced that. I wonder if you feel that some of the kids that you've experienced with ignorance, that they are not taught by their parents the proper way to handle someone that's different.
100%, because when I would start, when we first started the Buddy Club, it was the 5th and 6th grade kids. We said, if you are willing to sacrifice one recess a week, we'll assign you to either my class, or we had a second class of students. And you just come in and hang out, go to the gym and play basketball, or play board games, or just play with just come in and be a friend. And we would talk about what to expect, if you have any questions, if you seem nervous, and talk to your parents. And they had to get permission from their parents to do this, because I wanted the parents to be aware that they were giving up time, their free time. It was their choice.
Which is commendable.
And then just to see if you have any special interests, if you like to dance, or if you like, maybe we can hook you up with some other youngsters who maybe like music or so forth. But I think the kids that did volunteer, they were really curious.
Okay.
And they had a lot of very legitimate questions. And then oftentimes I found, which is I thought very telling too, a lot of the kids who volunteered had their own little maybe problems.
Okay.
So
they felt more comfortable maybe going into your room, rather than
being
contending with the children that were maybe too tough on them.
I had 1 or 2 kids over the years for sure that the social worker asked, can so-and-so come down and volunteer in your class? They don't want to go out at recess, because they were experienced bullying or feeling isolated.
That's interesting. I didn't realize that.
Oh, yeah.
That's very important to know.
Yes. And so they asked on a number of occasions. So I was a place where those kids can feel safe. And not just feel safe, but they felt valued. Oh, when they would come in the room, they'd go, oh, is so-and-so coming today? Are you going to be here? We're going to see you later. And it was like, they felt good because they were able to offer something. They were just not somebody who felt like not fitting in with their peer group, or maybe something that was lacking in them, that they were not accepted in their peer group. In our room, they were superstars.
Right.
They were, the staff.
Well, what's more noble than
giving of yourself,
giving of yourself, and going home and saying, I made somebody feel good today. Well,
there's no better feeling in the world.
No better feeling, and
that's what we try to encourage.
Exactly. And unfortunately, I find that's not. It's very rare to find that. I feel that this day and age with social media and all the comparisons and, if you're not dressed a certain way or you're not in the right group of friends or you're, maybe into theater and arts, that's deemed not cool. Like there's too much separation between someone just being an individual and learning from that.
And this desire to want to belong to a clique. Because I think something is, the kids who are looking to belong to something, they need a community. So I think what I wanted to do, or say, we can create a community of, trying to promote that, that the buddy club became something you wanted to be in. It was cool to be in the buddy club.
Yes.
And, where I had a big bulletin board and I'd have pictures there. And then the kids, and I said, you guys can be my little ambassadors because you got to have kids in your class. And I saying, everybody's walking down the hall all the time. And I had youngsters who might be having like a difficult time and they might be having a meltdown where they might be screaming or dropping to the floor. And naturally, kids who might be nervous or staring. Now my little ambassadors, they were in the group walking the other way. They would say, "It's okay, that's so and so. She's fine."
Right.
And they could tell their friends or something. It's okay. That's just she'll be fine later.
Right.
And so if they learned, that was the hope that they can maybe share what they've learned, or then you'd have
like be the
conduit. So just another person and
the middleman.
The middleman, and then sometimes their friends would say, "Oh, my friend she wants to join, or they want to try."
Right.
And I said, "Listen,
make it popular. Make it something
the cool
that's
thing.
Yeah, make it the cool thing.
And then you hope that you see. I think that people don't know yet until you do it how good it feels.
Right.
I remember this is 100 years ago. I saw on Oprah once, and she said, here's this extremely successful, wealthy woman, and she said, I was never really truly happy until I learned to give of myself.
Yes.
And when that is the greatest joy, and that's why I think I'm the happiest person in the world.
Well,
because
you should be, because you've given of yourself.
No, but that's what makes me happy.
Yes, that's the same thing with me. I feel the same way if I see somebody that's the underdog or someone that doesn't, and I've taught that to Tatum all these years, even from the very beginning. As you know, she's the younger sister. She's 5 years younger than Avery. However, now she's the bigger sister.
Right.
She, understands that, it's not what's popular is not always right, and what's right is not always popular.
Correct.
And other people have feelings, and other people want to feel wanted. They want to get up, and that's one of the things about the special needs community that warms my heart, is that they are very simple. It's almost like they're the regular, typical people that we should be emulating,
aspiring to,
and the others need a lot of work.
I know exactly what you're saying, because I think to me it is just as basic can be.
It's basic. They're just looking forward.
Kids want to have a friend. Kids want to be treated with respect. Correct. And their parents, and for parents, like all my parents over the years, I remember my biggest thing was I only had one child who was, healthy and very bright little guy, but he was kind of shy. I was terrified sending him off on the bus going to school. And I said to myself, how difficult would it be sending your kid who's got all these challenges and you're worrying about them? Is people going to be nice to them and so on? And all I could just say is, don't worry, when your kids are with me, they will be safe.
Yes,
they will be
I've
loved.
always said that. The minute I put Avery on the bus, I could go about my day and never think twice about it.
But, and that's what you want every child to feel safe.
Every child, even yes.
Every child should feel safe.
Exactly.
And every child should know that they can go to an adult and feel safe if they're feeling.
Yes.
And I think that we're seeing it more and more with mental health awareness, and maybe even with social work.
Suicide and where kids feel trapped and they feel, it's a very big developmental delay when you're struggling so hard to be a certain person that you're not, just so other people accept you. I mean, I know many children. I've been around many children, and by the time you're like in your teens, you should know. You should know. And that's where I blame the parents. You should know
by then
that it's important to treat everybody with kindness. You don't have to be everybody's best friend, but you need to treat them with kindness. And I've been around children, mostly, some of the girls that I've experienced over the years in Tatum's age group that wouldn't be caught dead with a special needs child because it doesn't look good for them.
But see, they don't know what real cool is then.
No, they don't. They don't.
And I had a situation when talking about parents many years ago. One of my class, I had, a whole bunch of kids. So, some kids may be more challenged than others. It's evolved over the years, what kids are in a self-contained class, et cetera. But I had a little girl who had a really serious seizure disorder and a chromosomal anomaly. And she would drool, and she'd had bad seizures. And one of the other youngsters, he just maybe had some serious ADHD, and he was kind of like, and learning challenges. He was not, he struggled with learning, cognitive struggles. And one day, my youngster with the seizure disorder had a grand mal seizure, and it was pretty serious. And, you had a protocol, you called the nurse, and he started laughing at her and saying, "Good, I hope you die." So, in the moment, I'm taking care of, the child, calling the nurse. And when that was done, I kind of walked him down to the social worker, and I said, "Can you do me a favor? Can you sit with him and maybe call his parents? I'd like to speak with them."
Yes, of course.
Well, the father came in, so I'm barreling down the halls and starts yelling at me. And how dare you tell me who my child can be friends with? He's getting ostracized because he's with those kids. And I'm thinking to myself, and he doesn't have to be, nobody's telling you have to be friends with everybody, but I will not tolerate anybody with that level of disrespect. And what he said to her, the unkindness. And so clearly you're seeing apple in the tree.
Oh, yeah.
So this is a grown man who worked at a hospital, who had other children, and he's saying, "Good, you can't tell me what my kid can say and do." And, I thought to myself, now how sad is that?
Yeah.
So that
I understand. I've been, like I said, I was with that, with the parents are the real problem.
And that was the problem. So because when I'm thinking they're going to come and we're going to have this conversation, and I'm going to say, wow, we just want to be, the girl was having a terrible medical emergency, and this is maybe if he was scared or this. No, it was that's not what it was. It was just it was cruel and mean.
Yes.
And the father didn't seem to be bothered by that at all. So that's a sad reflection.
It is. It's really sad. If you did see, even though you were in the special ed program with the self-contained class. Did you notice within the school, now moving on to this, because you've been there so many years, did you ever notice anything with the typical kids or experiences with other teachers that have told you?
I think the teachers are sometimes worse than the kids.
Okay.
I think kids are incredibly, because right now, I retired, in June 2023, was hired back as a consultant in that August. And I consult supporting a young boy who's got a neuromuscular disease. He's in a power wheelchair. He uses a speech device. Physically, because of his disability, his illness, he's got an enlarged head, hydrocephalus. He's got a trach, a ventilator. So this is a lot of equipment. He's got a full-time nurse, and it's an eye turner. And when he was in kindergarten, I think it took about a couple of days. The kindergarten kids walk by, "Hi, Brent. Hi, so-and-so," and just high-five.
Okay,
and
that's great.
Kids get over it quickly.
Yes.
But teachers and stuff, they're like, "Oh my God, what's it like?" And I'm like, well, the kids are fine. It's really, it's when you give them information. You don't have to give them a great deal of
education of educating people. You feel is the best tool to.
Yes, and even the teachers, you just got to say, it's nothing scary. It looks different. You've not seen it, so once you get used to it, it's like. Yes, it looks alarming. He's happy. He's thrilled to be here. You see his eyes get all animated. So you just got to go with that and just know that, him being here is like a positive. And you're doing the best you can, and you're just teaching your kids and coming by, make sure you're including him and looking at him and making sure he's in a group with the other kids. And we'll make sure that we're modifying the work the best we can. But the kids, I always found, were much quicker to that. And even in the hallway. So if he's navigating up and around with his one-to-one and the nurse, you see kids who are not in the lower grades and they don't know him and they're looking and they're like, and I go, it's okay, it's Brendan, just say hi and he's fine.
Overall, you've had a good experience with with that.
Just give them a little info.
Right. Because it's I'll never forget, we were in Florida once and we were at a pool area and this young girl, late 20s, was kept on looking over at me and Avery the entire day, over at Avery. And I'm like, I'm starting to get a little bit agitated because I'm not sure why. And I was concerned because, Avery was typically is fine, but Williams syndrome children have a look just like Down syndrome. They all have the same features. And so finally she came over to me and she said to me, could I ask you a question? And I was a little defensive at first. I was like, yes, because the whole day she kept on looking. And she says to me, does your daughter have Williams syndrome? And I said to myself, yeah. Like I said to her, yes. And she said, because my husband's brother has it. So we got into speaking, and we had this wonderful conversation. Right. It totally turned as what I thought it was going to be at first.
Right.
And she explained to me, which broke my heart, because he was graduating high school, and all through his years, he had a great time, and he was accepted, and he was in the prom king, and And once he left school, and everybody went their separate ways to college. Nothing. Got depressed, and he wasn't. It was no longer his safe place. And I always worry for these children that become young adults because they don't have the same path. Not to say it's a bad path, but it's a different path, and they don't become independent. Avery will never live on her own. She has to live where she is now with the help of people, supported help. But then when I go in to see her, and they're all different ages, there's 8 in total in her house. They're just happy.
It's
Saturday
a family.
Comes, they go out to the movies, we're going to dinner. I mean, I walk into the house, they all come swarming over to me and Sean, and they're like, oh, talk to us, we're doing this. They just are, it's a shame if they don't feel a part of something.
I think every human being needs to feel a sense of community. Community, whether it's the community of the people in the home, or the community of the school, or the community of a day program. My sister happens to live next door to a group home of intellectually disabled adults. And I know them all, of course, and James and John, and I know all the people.
It's great.
And Karen, my sister said they're her best neighbors. And the people she bought the house from left because of the group home.
Right.
And rather than say, wow, this is, I have no problem with this at all. Then she's got a good relationship with a couple of the residents are good friends of hers, and we have a relationship with them. And again, they're part of our community. They're part of her neighborhood.
And they're teaching us how easy it is to live a simpler life without all the craziness that's going on. Because this is not getting better. This bullying epidemic is not getting better. It's getting worse in my eyes. And I don't appreciate the kids that do these services for college applications and then they never speak to the kids again. I've had that happen to me. I feel that when you get involved in something that's bigger than yourself and that you can give back, like you said in the beginning, you are giving of yourself. You are doing something good for somebody else. And Tatum is always being super involved, not because she wants it on her resume, but she wants to be there and knows she just made someone's day a little bit happier.
And it's funny because even I think
volunteering,
I'm like that in my everyday life.
Yes,
so if I'm
same.
I think that as human beings, we want to be kind to other people. You're in a parking lot, I see an older person, they need some help. I'm going to run over there, can I help you with this?
Yes.
And my sister's husband, who's more of a quiet guy, goes, I would feel nervous about doing that. And we keep trying to tell him, because he's retired, why don't you go volunteer? And we said, you'd be surprised. It feels so good when you can help other people. And it's really just taking a chance. Even when I started with Mrs. Collada and all those people, I saw
wonderful women.
And they never worked with special kids. They were just teacher assistants in regular rooms. And I said, don't worry, ladies, follow my lead. We're going to be fine.
Yes.
Kids are kids.
Yep.
The bottom line is kids are kids.
Yes.
And kids just want to be loved. And you all had kids, or your old grandmas or mothers.
Yes.
And I said, and that's what we're doing. We're going to love these kids, and you're going to be fine. And they're like, okay. And to this day, Mrs. Collada is always like, I can't believe it. I can't believe, I was so nervous. And then it just was like, I just loved every minute of it.
It was wonderful. They were great.
Yes.
They were great.
And so you can lead by example and just tell people, don't be afraid, jump in.
Yes.
I think the payoff is much better than you
Yes,
will
and you
ever
leave a
know.
legacy with that. You leave a legacy. Well, thank you, Joanne, for speaking to me. I appreciate it. And thank you for tuning into this episode of Putting the Brakes on Bullying. for sharing some insights, and be sure to subscribe, share, and stay connected for more engaging conversations. Until next time, take care.